What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is my 1 year review of the ALFAWISE U30 3D printer that came from gearbest.com. Well, I got a lot to say about this printer. I've definitely had quite a few problems with it, but I have to say, before we get too deep into this, my overall review of this printer is actually really good. Now, that being said, I have learned a lot and had to change a lot to make this printer not only last, but work for this long. Let me explain. A couple months ago, I had a problem with the screen. It wasn't anything to do with this ribbon connector that's just down here, flimsy. Don't know why it's not tied to anything. Never really changed that. But I would turn on the printer, and this screen would just be backlit, but it would be black. So there wouldn't be any icons, no responsiveness from it at all. The only thing that fixed it, initially, and this is crazy, is taking out the fuse that is right next to the power adapter on the back of the printer and plugging it in. Take out the fuse, plug it back in, and then blow. Obviously, I had to put the fuse back in a couple times. I even had to change the fuse once, but it just seemed to fix it. And then it started to get to a point where it got ridiculous, so I found a official ALFAWISE U30 fuse, bought it, put it in, nothing happened. Nothing changed at all. And then from that point on, the screen wouldn't come on no matter what I did. So I had to go and find a different firmware update the firmware, and as soon as I put the SD card in the printer to connect it to start the firmware update, the screen comes on and shows you the progress bar. Perfect. Works just like nothing ever happened. So I don't know why that is. I guess it's a bug fix. I don't know if anyone else has had that issue, but it happened to me. So right now, I have been printing for 22 hours and 6 minutes. Now, I've had no issues with long prints or with the filament runout detection or the power shut-off function. So if you lose power, the printer will resume printing once it has power. The nozzle will move itself. It'll heat up and restart the print basically from where it left off. So that works great. Thumbs up for that. I don't know any other printers in this price range that's doing that today. Now, some of the issues I am having though. One, this over here is the stupidest problem ever with a 3D printer, I think. So all of these on a lot of printers, they're trash. So let me explain. On this printer, see this green plastic part? I printed that, obviously. So it doesn't actually come with anything. It comes stock with a little just extender that would just be flat right here at the end of the circuit board, which is the filament runout sensor. What that would cause is, if you were like me and you wanted to use the included filament holder, the filament would run down and scrape basically on the top of that circuit board. So on Thingiverse, there's someone who was so kind to make a file that made a guide for it. My thing has stripped out since, but it's time for a new one of those. So this allows me to hook up the quick connects and guide the filament in smoothly. That was a plus. That fixed that problem, because I was definitely having problems with filament getting scraped and a loss of it throughout the system. Now, another problem I'm having now is, I want you to take a listen. Smooth, right? The x-axis is running perfectly smooth. The y-axis, however, It's rough. It's very rough. It almost sounds like the motor is jittering. Kind of. You'll really hear it now. It rumbles this whole table. I've put vibration dampeners on all the legs. Nothing fixes that. And that only started happening after I updated the software. I've adjusted the Y jerk on this to be as soft as I can get it, but that's just a stupid problem. I don't know what happened there. It really wasn't like that, but it did start to slowly progress. I'm going to assume it has something to do with either this front carriage bearing or the bearings in these wheels right here. There's 4 of them. They're easy to replace. They're just basically skateboard rating or skateboard bearings. It's no big deal. But it is definitely a lot louder than it used to be. It used to be really quiet. I've had to replace this fan right here, this 24 volt nozzle fan. But this other 24 volt filament fan, the one that actually cools, you get a good view of it right there. The tip of the nozzle has always worked perfectly. Don't know why, but that's definitely been a problem. So, all in all though, this printer now does have a profile on Cura, and the profile does work, but I've noticed that the Start Prime feature goes this way with the U30 and this way with the U20. And if you just use the U20 profile, this printer works better, actually. As long as you just adjust the bed width and length, and then the Z height. Speaking of, I've printed some fairly large objects. Right now this is printing a snowboard clamp for waxing. So it'll clamp to a table and allow you to do waxing. As you can see, the infill in there is pretty damn good, actually. It's doing a very good job. I had some layer problems here. Don't blame that on the printer, blame that on me. I have much better examples where that didn't happen, and we're gonna look at these right here. These hold my snowboard on the wall. And I just want to see how well, I don't know how well this camera is going to pick this up, but these actually came out really good. I distorted the file, so this was actually supposed to be a logo, but it got stretched out. But that has worked very well. These are strong as hell, and they were printed very fast on this thing at 10% infill. Now, the printer itself cost $300. Now they have the ALFAWISE U30 Pro printer, which I intend to do a review on. Your best, if you ever watch this video, send me one. Get in contact with me. I'd love to do one for you. But this printer has worked very well for me. I've had some problems, but that's expected with a $300 basically ready-made printer, other than an Ultimaker, which cost about $1,000. For the bank, this printer is worth it. It troops. It is very intuitive, very easy to use, and overall it's cheap. You can't beat that. Cura settings work perfectly on it, so I give this printer honestly a 4 out of 5 stars because it has performed much better than any other 3D printer I've used. It is currently the only 3D printer I am using, because I did have a Turnigy Max 3D printer and I got tired of that thing. It had problems all the time. I threw it away. I actually just gave it to a friend and he totally destroyed it, but that's that. So, other than that, this has been my 1-year review of the ALFAWISE U30 3D printer. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a like and a thumbs up. I guess that's the same thing. Give it a share and a thumbs up. And if you want to hear anything else about the ALFAWISE U30 or any other 3D printer questions, GoPro, RC airplanes, or pilot questions, please comment below.